everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Banter broadcast, where we just get together and talk about movies, TV shows, what have you. I am Patricia Miranda.
I'm Ian King Jr.
I am Andrew Meredith.
I'm Malia Coberts.
And so today we're going to be kind of doing a follow-up podcast that we discussed about back in February, discussing about Avatar: The Last Airbender in honor of its 15th anniversary. Sorry, we haven't recorded a podcast in months. A little something called COVID-19 caused it, but we're doing all of this in Zoom, and it may not sound as good for when we did it back in the studio at our school, but hey, nonetheless, we're going to finally come back and talk about something Avatar related again. I know we said we were going to do Korra, but this was too important to ignore. So before we do that, Andrew is coming in for the first time. So please, why don't you share your history about Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Okay, so let's see. Growing up, Avatar would come on TV. I was not allowed to watch it, so of course I snuck it when my parents weren't around. And I got.
Do you listen to the podcast?
No. So I got like little bits and pieces of Avatar growing up. And then when I was like 8 or 9, the series had just ended. And I remember everyone in school was talking about it or whatever. I feel like the end happened in the summer and we talked about it when we got back. But anyway, people were talking about the ending of Avatar, and I was like, oh man, I have to watch it. So I used my 8-year-old knowledge, went online. I don't know how I did it, but I found all the episodes. I was a pirater from a young age. And
I see. Wow.
Yes.
Impressive.
And like every chance I got to get on the computer, I would watch Avatar. And I have watched the series fully at least like 5 or 6 times. And I love it. It is a masterpiece of cinema. Cinema, that's not TV. Masterpiece of television. And yeah, it's just a gem. It's just a gem. Overall, wonderful.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So a lot has changed since we did our last podcast. In addition to the series being on Netflix, Avatar: The Last Airbender has gotten a massive resurgence. There are so many news articles talking about how people are tuning into watching the series on Netflix.
When it first came out or when it ended, it was also still in the top 10 back then also, which was amazing. It hit top 10 twice in the last almost 10 years, right? It came out in like 2008, correct?
No, the show ended in 2008, yeah.
Yeah, so the thing is, I remember when I first got the Netflix streaming service, the show was on there.
Yeah, it was on Netflix.
Yeah.
Because I've watched it on Netflix before.
Yeah, the reason why was because it was around 2010 that Viacom had gotten an exclusive deal to release some of their stuff on Netflix. But then the contract was expired, and so they no longer had to had the rights to post their stuff there, at least for a long time. And then it wasn't until about last year in which they decided to do that again so that they can be able to post some of the stuff that they knew that their older audience was watching, which is why Rocko's Modern Life, Static Cling, and Invaders Into the Florpus was there.
Yeah, which was smart.
And they made a very smart choice, because once Avatar came on Netflix, that's all you saw.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
Avatar, and I was living for it.
Yeah, and as of the recording of this podcast, tomorrow, Korra is going to be there.
Smart.
But I already watched it illegally, so we're going to have to watch it legally.
Oh, I love Korra.
Don't admit
so
to this stuff, man. You don't admit to this stuff.
They can't arrest me unless I download it. If I didn't download it, I streamed it. I'm not
watching.
Sure,
we're watching. Anyways, but it's interesting that we're talking about Avatar being on Netflix, because kind of on top, kind of not, the ties between Avatar and another famous franchise, which has been around since 1977, which is Star Wars. Yeah. Dave Filoni, who worked on the Clone Wars and Rebels, worked on season 1 of Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Anything Dave Filoni touches flourishes.
Yes, gold. But he said that they got more views from Clone Wars being on Netflix than they ever did on Cartoon Network. And I believe it was the same thing with Avatar, not just the first time, but especially this time with it being on Netflix, and they ever did on Nickelodeon. So
yes, that's very true.
That is very crazy.
The same thing happened with Young Justice, in which when Young Justice was put to Netflix after Cartoon Network canceled it, their views had like doubled. They had never seen that kind of views. And then eventually they got 2 more seasons on the DC streaming service or something.
And they kind of screwed Netflix on that, because correct me if I'm wrong, but the 3rd season was supposed to be on Netflix.
The 3rd season was supposed to be on Netflix, but then DC was like, we're going to make a streaming service and put it on there.
Yes.
And I think that was smart for them, because if we're being honest, no one was getting DC Universe when it was announced. Like, I personally was not going to get it. And then they were like, by the way, Young Justice Season 3.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like an equivalent of like HBO Max is like, oh, you know, there's already another streaming service. What am I going to get there? The Snyder Cut from Justice League.
Yes.
And HBO Max and DC Universe, that's a conversation me and Ian got to have another day, because
I'll talk about that all day.
I will talk about that all day. That leaves a lot. Malia has been trying to say something for the past like 5 minutes.
I have.
Oh, sorry, Malia.
That's tracking all the way back to when we were talking about Netflix and the views doubling. I feel like, because especially in this day and age, people don't want to sit around and watch actual TV. Like, we want to sit there and binge watch it, because it's literally out of the touch of our fingertips. It's on our laptops. We don't have to walk to the TV, and then we don't sit through commercials anymore. It's literally just like straight through.
Don't have to walk to the TV. Wow.
Yeah.
How old are you, Malia?
No, it's not even that. It's just like, this is where we've come to. We don't have to walk to the TV. That's wild.
Yeah, and to age myself, if I missed an episode of a show, I had to rely on a friend recording it on VHS to say, hey, did you watch the episode from last time? It's like, yeah, I recorded it on my VHS cassette player. Can I watch it? Because we didn't have, DVDs or streaming services or, on demand back then. So
all you had was reruns and just people taping it on a VHS.
And then if you miss all of that, you just hear it on a playground at recess.
Literally, that was my life. Either
pretty much.
it or playground.
Man, because when we didn't have cable, shoot.
Well, I had cable. Don't know about you.
We got cable for a little bit, and then we got rid of it. So I'd relied to like go into my classmates for new episodes of stuff and just be like, what happened yesterday?
Right.
Dark times.
Yes, but anyways, so Netflix.
Oh yeah, so going into the, finishing up the whole Netflix deal. So, as you guys know, Viacom made a exclusivity deal with, with Netflix about like, hey, we're gonna be posting up our stuff from Nickelodeon to Netflix, and we're going to post up exclusive stuff like Pinky Malinky and Glitch Text. And then Rocko's Modern Life, Static Cling, Invaders Adventure, The Florpus. And because that worked out so well, a lot of shows have been put on Netflix. But then, if you guys remember, a few months ago, Viacom and CBS merged. And so a lot of stuff has been posted on CBS Access.
Yep.
Another streaming service we don't have money for. Woohoo! Love that.
I don't know if I'm going to get that one. Maybe if I was a Star Trek fan, maybe.
See, that's what was pushing me to get it, because I am a Star Trek fan. But I could not, because I'm already paying for DC Universe, paying for Hulu and Spotify, Disney Plus. I just don't have money to spend on all these streaming services.
Well, you ain't got to worry about DC Universe anymore, because that's eventually going to just go away.
That's going to HBO Max.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just pay for that.
Yeah. I might have sounded a little spoiled, but I don't pay for any of that.
So see, it's people like you, Malia. The only one I'm not paying for is Netflix, because that's my family's. Everything else I'm paying for.
My dad pays the Netflix. I have Sprint, so Sprint comes with Hulu, or Hulu comes with Sprint, something like that.
What? I'll say wait.
Sprint comes with Hulu. No, Hulu.
Okay.
Hulu comes with Sprint.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And then Sydney pays for Disney Plus, which I don't even use.
There you go.
So
y'all just
really,
I'm I have no shame in saying I only got Disney Plus for Star Wars stuff, but then I was
Oh,
this
same.
Avatar, and then I
Sure.
was like, oh yeah. Anyways, but yeah, sorry.
Initially, I
Yeah.
definitely got Disney Plus for the Clone Wars, and I use it from time to time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Anyways,
I
but
use
yes,
it for Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's a good one for sure.
Wait,
It
Which
was.
one?
you're talking about the cartoons?
Ultimate Spider-Man.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say we
Spider-Man
don't
is
have any
fine.
other movies on.
That's a good one. I'm not.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I was
I ain't
literally
mad at that
watching
one.
it for that only. And yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All right then.
Anyways, all right. So, sorry. Back to topic CPS.
All right, so let's. Okay, so long story short, so the whole merger thing happened, and now a lot of shows are being run into 3 different streaming services. So we have Hulu, we have CBS Access, and of course we have Netflix. It's a mess. Anyway, so just yesterday, Michael DiMartino and Brian Konietzko posted on their Instagram and their other social medias saying that they are no longer going to be involved in the Avatar: The Last Airbender live action series. I'm going to read off from what Michael said.
It hurts.
Michael said this, and I quote, "Many of you have been asking me for updates about the Avatar live action Netflix series. I can finally tell you that I am no longer involved with the project. In June of this year, after 2 years of development work, Brian Konietzko and I have made the difficult decision to leave the project." Oof. And you know what? I mean, just that one notion alone, everybody got really angry.
Yep.
All right, let's continue.
Oh my goodness.
When Brian and I signed in on the project in 2018, we were hired as executive producers and showrunners. In a joint announcement for the series, Netflix said that it was committed to honoring our vision for this retelling and to support us on creating the series. And we expressed about how excited we were for the opportunity to be at the helm. Unfortunately, things did not go as well as we hoped. Look, things happen. Productions are challenging, unforeseen events arise, plans have to change. And when those things that have happened at other points during my career, I try to be like an Arab nomad and adapt. I do my best to go with the flow, no matter what obstacles is put in my way. But even an air nomad knows when it's time to cut their losses and move on. I started to reevaluate what is truly important in my life and what I wanted to do with what's left of it. I took some advice from Uncle Iroh. I looked inward and started asking myself the big question, who are you and what do you want? I also sought wisdom from Stoic philosophers who are big on differentiating between what is within our control and what isn't. I realized I couldn't control the creative direction of the series, but I could control how I responded. I chose to leave the project. It was the hardest professional decision I've ever had to make, and certainly not one that I took lightly, but it was necessary for my happiness and creative integrity. And who knows, Netflix live-action adaptation of Avatar has the potential to be good. It might turn out to be a show many of you may end up enjoying. But what I can be certain about is that whatever version ends up on screen, it will not be what Brian and I had envisioned or intended to make. I want to be clear that this doesn't mean the end of my involvement in the Avatar universe. These stories and characters are important to me, and the renewed interest and excitement in Avatar and Korra have been inspiring to see. Writing this letter has left me with a very heavy heart. I know many of you will be disappointed and frustrated by the news. I get it. I share your disappointment and frustration. I also recognize this creative setback is small compared to the problems we're facing in society right now. Thankfully, Iroh has offered some wisdom for that too. Sometimes life is like this dark tunnel. You can't always see a light at the end of the tunnel, but if you just keep on moving, you will come to a better place. May we all keep moving and come to a better place. Thank you for reading and for your continued enthusiasm for the Avatar universe. With gratitude, Michael Dante DiMartino. So yeah, let's focus on Michael's statement first. So yeah, the fact that Netflix has been conflicting with Mike and Brian's vision of what the Avatar series should be, as opposed to, focusing on what they want. It's like, where do we start?
Can I give my thing real quick?
Go for it.
Because
I'm going after you, Andrew.
This has been on my mind since this news dropped. How are you going to have creative differences with the creators of the show? Like the character and all of the characters are theirs. They made it. It was their minds that created this bending world, every single character. And how is Netflix going to sit there and be like, yeah, but, right?
I
And
mean,
who, like, you can't tell the people who literally birthed these characters what the characters should and shouldn't be.
there's a simple answer to that, Andrew. Just look at what Disney did with Star Wars.
I know, but it, it blows me every time I think about anything like that, how a studio gives the creators of this respective franchise the opportunity to make something. And because DC did it with Zack Snyder, Disney did it with Star Wars and George Lucas, and now Netflix is doing it with The Last Airbender. And they're just like, we're going to let you on board, but we're just going to take away every opportunity that you have to do the show that you want. We're going to make it the show that we want. And I think they have to know that the show that they're going to make by themselves is not the shows that fans want. Fans want the show that the creators are making. Everyone was so excited about the live action Avatar because they knew the creators would be on board. I was excited when the live action one in 2010 got announced. I was like, oh man, that's going to be so cool. And then it happened. And it was a travesty, and I rewatched it over quarantine, and it was worse than I remember.
We don't want to claim that movie. We don't watch that movie.
I watched it after I watched the show. After I rewatched the show again, I was like, how bad was the movie? Because I hadn't seen it since I was like 11. It was worse than I remember. And I'm predicting a similar situation, maybe not to the level of awful that The Last Airbender was. I don't think anything could touch that. But I do think that Netflix is going to mess up the characters. They're going to mess up the world that the creators have made. They're going to try to introduce somebody new that nobody wants. That's the problem with remaking shows like this.
Watch Uncle Ira have a daughter and not a son.
Exactly. They take like things that
Who's
may
alive,
be minor.
by the way.
Huh?
I said, who's alive, by the way.
Oh yeah. See, Malia is thinking what I'm thinking. They're going to change things that the studio might think are minor, and it's a big part of the character. Uncle Iroh's son dying is the only reason why
he didn't cry for Bison Sensei.
Not that. What was Zuko's father's name? I forgot.
Ozai.
Yeah. Iroh's son dying is the only reason why Ozai is a Fire Lord. That's the only reason. They changed the course of the world. And Netflix would do something like, okay, but he's alive and in hiding. No. You know? So that's what I think. That's what I have to say. I could go on for the next hour and a half, but I'm going to shut up and let y'all talk.
Okay. Malia, you're next.
Yeah, Malia's next. Go.
So basically, I want to say congrats to the, I can't remember, is it Michael?
Yeah, Michael.
For Michael for stepping away. His quote saying that people know, like, I can't change the course of the show, but I can change the course of my own actions, which is to step away. That's something huge. Like, a lot of people probably won't realize that, but that's a very that's a power move right there. Like, that means you are securing yourself and
your property.
Yeah. It's just, I love that for him. Like, go off.
This to me is really interesting. Disappointing first and foremost, but it's interesting because Netflix has been the production platform for many creators to have more freedom. So when I saw and read that, I was like, wait, is this a joke? I thought it was a joke at first.
Same. Not gonna hold you. Same.
I also would have believed it was a joke.
Right, and then I saw the official media outlets running the stories. I was like, oh, this is real.
When Patricia sent it to us, I was like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I saw it on Twitter, and I was so mad.
I mean, you're absolutely right, Ian. Like, let's be honest. I mean, I follow a lot of people who are in this industry on Twitter and various other places. And they've mentioned this multiple times that streaming services like this are the future because television is so restricted nowadays.
Yeah.
Like there are so many values that they will not post on television at all. Like anything like severe violence or representation of certain genders and sexes or anything like that. Like, you know, you cannot do BoJack Horseman on television unless it's like Adult Swim. You cannot do F is for Family on Adult Swim unless, of course, you like tone it down significantly.
Yeah. Even Adult Swim has its limits.
Exactly.
Which is why like all the uncensored stuff has to go online.
Yeah. And also they don't have the same budget as Adult Swim. Like Adult Swim's budget is much lower than Netflix. And here's the thing, like, you know, a lot of these animators that we know of, like Genndy Tartakovsky and Dave Filoni, they're all going to these streaming services for a reason. Because more people are tuning into that than television, and they know they can get the creative freedom that they've been looking for.
Right.
I mean, Craig McCracken, he even mentioned this. When Wander Over Yonder got canceled, he was like, I am so fed up with television. I am moving straight over to a streaming service. When, you know, with Guillermo del Toro was pitching his, you know, his Dragon series. And, you know, they were like, you know, the only place I can do it is on Netflix. And so, you know, that's where everybody's going.
That's a great point, because even a directing giant, great GOAT like Martin Scorsese, no studio would take The Irishman but Netflix.
Right.
So for me to hear that the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender are stepping away because of creative differences with Netflix, I'm like, to me, in my mind, I'm thinking the creative differences that they had must have been so vast.
Yeah.
Like, for you guys to step away, you know, like I wish I was a fly on the wall during those meetings just to like hear what the differences were, you know, like for example, you guys talking about how Iroh might have a daughter instead of a son, and the daughter's still alive and she's on the run from Ozai and the Fire Nation, whatever, you know, that it would change the story. And from a certain point of view, I can kind of get the appeal for something like that, if that's true. Obviously, this is just you guys making it up. But what really happens, I think they want to mess with the principles that the creators set up in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's true.
And that's what I think. And that's when I think the creators said, no, we can't have that. No, you can change maybe certain characters, like maybe certain personalities, but you can't change certain principles about these characters nor this world that we set up.
Right.
You know, and all I would have to say if I were the creators, okay, look, you guys saw what happened with M. Night Shyamalan when he did Last Airbender. We gave him everything he needed. We you know, we gave him the world of Avatar Bible, you know.
And he gave us crap.
Yes. Now granted, M. Night Shyamalan's bounced back. He has bounced back, and I will give him that. But
that will always be a stain on
his career. So for a company or for a huge company like Netflix, who is known for giving creative freedom to creators, like a Zack Snyder, who was able to do Day of the Dead and do it the way he wanted, who said, I had no problems with Netflix. They let me do what I wanted to do. For them to kind of step in and try to, you know, I guess alter what these guys want to do with this live action series, that's really unsettling to me. And usually I'm more of an optimist, like, okay, I think this is going to be fine.
Yeah.
I am really nervous.
I am too. Like, here's the thing. Like, I'm sure that a lot of people know about, like, different interpretations based off of, like, similar franchises. Like, I don't know if it'll go in the same direction as Ninja Turtles, in which, like, you have the core story about 4 turtles who were turned into ninjas by training with a rat, and they got covered with this ooze, and they have a bad guy named Shredder and a whole bunch of other bad guys, and they try to defend New York City. So that series has been changed and rearranged so many times over the past 30
like Scooby-Doo.
Ooh, Scooby-Doo.
A better example, yes. That series has been around for 50 years. And it has so many incarnations. You have everything from them being children, for them being teenagers, for them being young adults. Mm-hmm. You have them in stop motion. You have them in puppets. You have them in 2D. You have them in 3D.
Yep.
Everywhere.
Yep.
Another example for me would be, I don't know if any of you guys watched Iron Man Armored Adventures, where he was a teenager.
Kind of.
So that was like that was one of those things that had mixed reactions because like Iron Man is Iron Man, like he's a grown billionaire who does all this, and then they decide we're gonna take him, throw him in high school, make his friends kids, make his enemies adults. For me, I liked that. I think that that was a different. It was a different take. I liked Teenage Tony. I liked the show. I thought the animation was pretty good. No one else did,
Sure.
but
It was fun, yeah.
the difference with that is that Iron Man is Iron Man, right? So by the when Iron Man Armored Adventures was out, we already had previously had an Iron Man show in the 90s. He was an established character. He was a founding member of the Avengers. We had the Iron Man movies at that point. They could take the risk and make him a teenager
Right.
and change up the formula, and it just be another thing. Avatar, we have Avatar. That's it. We have the Avatar show. We have the movie that we don't talk about. We just leave that to the side. We have the comics, and that's basically it, right?
And Korra.
And
Korra.
Korra. Oh yeah, Korra, of course.
In the comics of Korra.
Yes. But at the end of the day, we have this one series with this one timeline, with this one interpretation of these characters. So in order to switch up their principles and core beliefs or whatever, you really can't do that this soon, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I felt the same
Because-
way about Rise of the Ninja Turtles, in which
Right.
that
Yeah.
show came out way too soon after the 2012 version was over. Like
Yeah.
in the
It just
previous
came on so fast.
yeah, previous incarnations would be like every 10, 12 years. The 80s series, it ended around the 90s, and then we had to wait about another decade until the 2003 version came out. For the
Right.
2003
Top
version,
tier.
and then the
Which is what
2003
Internet
version,
grew up on.
right. And then the 2003 version, it lasted until maybe like around 2007, and then in 2008 we had them going through time in the 30th century or something. And then that was over, and then we had to wait another like 6 years until the 2012 series came out. And as
Right.
soon as the 2012 series was over, there was an announcement for Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out, and
Yeah.
everybody was so angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
I
they did not wait at all to put
Not
that
at
out.
all.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, like the one before that was like pretty good, and people and to me it took a while for the older fans to kind of warm up to that series. So
Yeah,
then when they
exactly.
finished
Yeah,
it,
did.
then it's like, okay, it's something brand new, different animation, and I'm just like, what? You guys
And-
just finished one. Just let it soak in.
The
And they changed up Rise so much. They gave them different weapons, which seems really, really small. Like,
It's
oh, they just have different weapons. But Mikey
Could change
has
up
the
the whole character
nunchucks.
game.
Right. Mikey got the nunchucks. Raph has the size. Leo has the sword. Donnie has the bow staff. And they
Right.
just switched all the weapons up. And they changed too much about the show in
And
too
then they
short
made
of time.
Raphael the leader.
Yeah.
Right. They changed too
The-
much about it way too quick.
Rise to me reminds me so much of Teen Titans. Like whenever Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, that's exactly
Like-
what they were trying to do. They were trying to have their version of Teen Titans Go.
First of all,
And-
Teen Titans Go is hilarious, and I don't accept any slander. Continue.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that's
like,
it.
here's the
There's a
thing.
lot
Like,
of dog jokes in the show, but come on, dude.
I mean,
I
here's the
know.
thing. Like,
I
I
love
can
Titans
understand.
Go.
I can understand why a lot of people like the show. I mean, personally,
Yeah.
for me, I haven't seen enough of it to say I hate it or I like it.
same
But
here.
I do know people who actually work on the show, so I'm not going to say anything negative about it. The point is that when
Respect.
the
Right,
point is
part.
that Teen Titans Go,
That's honest.
they had a lot of rip-offs and copycats that came out of it. The 2016 Powerpuff Girls show,
Yeah.
the Thundercats show, and then Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, a lot of people were trying to ride on the coattails of that show, and I think that's kind of a reason why it had a little bit of a stink to it. It's like it came out too soon, and when it was riding on a show that a lot of people didn't like. So
Yeah, and I mean, side note about Teen Titans Go, I heard the movie was actually pretty good.
I haven't seen
I heard it was.
I have
I
yet
have
to
heard
watch
the
the
movie
movie.
But there's been two. There was the one that was in theaters, and then there was Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go.
I've heard about that one.
I have
wanna
not
watch that
seen
one.
either.
Toby
I want to
Gage.
see them. I've heard they're really good.
Yeah, well,
Andrew,
I
what
heard that
type
the
of
one.
movie night?
I'm with it. See, but that okay, so here's my thing about Teen Titans Go, right? I think Cartoon Network was smart, and here's why. When we were younger, and by we I mean like me and Malia, when we were younger, we had this like comic book TV was at its peak when we
Yeah.
were in like first, second grade, because you had Justice League and Justice League Unlimited running. We had Teen Titans, the original.
Yes.
Um,
Good years.
what else was on?
I'm trying to
Static
think, what
Shock.
do we have?
Static Shock
yeah.
was out. Batman Beyond was coming on. Well, those were like reruns, but like still, we had the Ninja Turtles. We had all of these great superhero TV shows.
Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yes,
Yes,
the
which is really
best
underrated.
one. That was the best
Whoa,
one.
whoa, 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 whoa,
The
whoa,
best
whoa,
Spider-Man?
whoa. You were not going to be disrespectful. You were not going to be disrespectful.
We don't talk
to
about
Spider-Man
this later,
cartoon
Ian.
in the 90s.
Okay.
How dare you?
Okay.
Let me finish.
Okay.
my point.
Wait. Let's not have this debate now.
We're
Let's have
going
off
to
camera.
later.
Yes,
So
we will talk about this later.
with that, like, and also for whatever reason, our attention spans were so much longer than kids now. Because if you
Yes.
notice,
I think it's because we went outside more.
but I think that they like we were able to sit there for 30 minutes and watch a show. If you notice now, all these shows are broken up into 15-minute blocks.
Yep.
11 minutes max.
Well,
Like
yeah.
Steven Universe, Star
Gumball.
versus the Forces. Yeah.
Gumball.
All
yeah.
those shows are literally 11 minutes.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, when I was a kid, that's how shows were structured. Ren and Stimpy was the same way. Rugrats was the same way. Hey Arnold was the same way.
Right.
A lot of these shows were structured into 11 minutes because they wanted to give variety over to the storytelling as much as they could cram it in about 11 minutes.
Right.
But
But
like,
then around the late 90s and 2000s, that was when, hey, let's see if we can actually add story into it and we can actually
right.
expand on our characters, because
Right.
anime was becoming hugely popular. It's like, let's see if we can do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Titans Go, Cartoon Network has changed so much.
Oh, it has.
Right?
It has.
Because
It's no longer the same Cartoon Network when I first saw it.
Same
It's
here.
no,
Yes.
it's no longer airing Hanna-Barbera reruns. It's not
Nope.
airing Space Goes Coast to Coast or the Moxie
Nope.
show.
Nope. Not
So-
or yeah. Just
so like they've changed so much over the years, because when I had Cartoon Network, I had there was a mix with shows. Like in one show, there's a mix of like serious where like there's action and the stakes are super high and it's the end of the world all the time.
Yeah,
Right.
Samurai Jack.
But
yeah.
there was this
Yep.
mix of humor in it. And that's what made it so endearing to us. And as times changed, kids started leaning like they stopped really caring about the whole action thing and just wanted to do the comedy. So I think Cartoon Network saw that and was like, we can make money like off of this established cast of characters that we have that we can use. We can make something. And when Teen Titans Go was announced, I hated it. I was ready to go to the Cartoon Network studios and burn it to the ground, right? But and it took me like maybe 3 years to actually watch an episode because I refused. But when I watch it, like I don't think of it as a Teen Titans show for real. Like it might be the characters, it might be the same voice actors, but it's not Teen Titans. It's just like nonsense.
Here's the thing. I think that people would have really warmed up to the show for 3 reasons. Number one, if they actually did complete the Teen Titans show, if they actually if they would have released
That's
the
what I
Judas,
want.
if they would have released the Judas Project, I think a lot of people would have been satisfied.
Yes,
I agree with that.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Patricia, because that was my problem. Like, wait, so you guys didn't even finish one series?
And the thing is, they keep acknowledging that they didn't. In Teen Titans Go, they regularly acknowledge the fact that there's no season 6.
Yeah.
And that is one issue I have, because like you really left us with Beast Boy at the lowest of the low. He was like, he finally got the love of his life back. She can't remember him. And they keep bringing it up. And like they had one episode where they brought in Control Freak, and Control Freak had them watching TV.
Yeah.
And they were stuck watching TV. And then they watched the Teen Titans show. And they're like, but where's the season 6? And then they went on and on about all of the complaints that fans have about there being no season 6. And I'm sitting there looking at the TV like, so y'all know that we've been clamoring for this for how many years? 15 years?
Yeah.
And
Has
you're
it really
just
been
not going to
15?
give it to us?
Am I that
Yeah.
old?
Yes.
Yes.
Teen Titans ran
Has
from like 2003 to 2007 or something.
Yeah, just
Am I
about.
really that old? Wow.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
Time
we
is
are.
flying.
We're that old.
Time is
Wow.
flying. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so annoying.
With Teen Titans Go, my cousins watch the show, so I know that's why I can really say that if I like it or not. There was this one episode where they literally sat there and reinvented the show. Like they made a joke out of reinventing the show.
Yes, I remember that episode.
And so it's the creators really know what they're doing. And the show, it does have a lot of jokes. It is a funny show. I'll give
It is
you that.
hilarious. It is so funny.
Yeah,
But
I
for
mean,
me-
here's the thing. Like, they know about the fandom because
Yeah.
the fandom is very loud when it comes to their opinions of the show. And the
Yes.
reason why is because when the show was first starting, they stated in an interview that they had never watched the original Teen Titans, and it gotten them so angry.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
See.
Like,
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, here's the second reason why I think that the show could have like lessened the blow. The Teen Titans, they're always like new characters. Like they could have like, had, instead of like Cyborg, who's with the Justice League now, why don't we add Blue Beetle into it? Or why don't we add this
Yes.
character into it?
Yeah.
Mix it up and have it a different Teen Titans. Like it's not
Exactly.
always the same characters. And also, and I know this is kind of cruel for me because I know, the importance of, bringing in people back. And I enjoy that every time I see an incarnation of a show that I prefer. But they shouldn't have brought back the voice actors. I'm sorry.
They shouldn't have.
Yeah,
Because it just reminds you so much about like, this is the show that we could have gotten.
Right.
The designs
Right.
are the same from the original and the actors are the same from the original. It just leaves it even more of a bitter pill to swallow.
I think
Yeah.
that the actors coming back was just like their attempt to make old fans like want to come back and watch it.
Exactly.
But
Yep. That's what it was.
I do think that they should have casted completely new people because, like you said, it's just like it hurts so much.
I mean, the Teen Titans from the DC movies didn't do that. Damian Wayne is their Robin, not
Right.
not Dick Grayson.
Exactly.
Starfire's a lot older. She's the mother of the group. Raven is
Yeah.
kind of like the quiet person like she's always been, but she is a little bit more talkative. Beast Boy is your crazy, like wacky character as always. And Cyborg's not in it because he's with the Justice League. It's Blue Beetle.
Also, with those Teen Titans movies, that's the second incarnation of the Titans. Because in like the very beginning of the movie, you see Dick Grayson was Robin, but you also have Kid Flash, you have
Kid
Speedy,
Flash, right.
you have Bumblebee.
Right.
And that's when they meet Starfire and she's like, find all the people, whatever. So if they taken the route of the DC movies and made it a new lineup and maybe like had the original actors reprise their roles as like guest appearances.
Sure. I mean, they
something to lessen the blow of like, we're giving you a Teen Titans show, but it's not what you want. Go die. Like,
Right. And
yeah.
to kind of bring it back to Avatar and Netflix.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. But the thing is, we have no indication of that Netflix is trying to do what Cartoon Network did with Teen Titans. We don't know what this new show is going to look like.
We
don't know the path that they're going to take into forging a new Avatar world or one that's familiar. It might be something totally different. They just probably going to use the name and some of the characters, and to me, Avatar is so much deeper than just a show of a boy who was discovered in an iceberg stopping an empire.
So much.
There are some real
so much deeper.
So there's so much more to Avatar.
Yeah, there are, and like there are some life and even spiritual lessons you can learn throughout that show. Like the creators did a fantastic job of really exploring certain philosophies and like certain beliefs, and that's one of the many things that I love about the show. Actually, both shows, but I don't know if Netflix because they did such a good job with The Witcher. They've done a good job with other shows. So it's like I don't what do you guys not understand or
Yeah,
what is the
like their
problem?
other adaptations have done really well, like Green Eggs and Ham. Did anybody expect it to be as good as it was?
I've
I
heard it
never
was
watched Green
great.
Eggs.
I
I
did
heard
hear
it's
it was
good.
really good. I haven't watched it.
I haven't watched
Oh,
it either, but I heard it's good.
I
yeah.
do want to. I should probably do that after I'm done with them. What am I watching right now? Umbrella Academy. After that, yeah,
Season 2?
Yes.
season 2,
Season
yes.
2, yes. I am watching that as well. Fantastic so far.
But so here's my 2 cents on what Ian just said. Even though I'm very mad about Netflix forcing the creators to like leave, well, not forcing, but like making a situation where they felt like they had to leave.
Sure.
I don't think that it would be necessarily that bad. I do believe that Netflix, like in terms of maybe like casting the right people to play the roles, making the atmosphere as close as it can. I do believe that they'll do that. I think they'll cast, Asian actors like they should. I do think they'll have accurate settings, but like I don't know. I just feel like they're going to change the characters and the world as a whole just a little too much for fans to be comfortable with. But
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
think that it has if anything, if it's good, if the Avatar show is good, I
Right.
think it would have been good if it was another show. Like I have no doubt that Netflix can turn Avatar into something good, but it's one of those situations where like it would have been better if it wasn't Avatar.
And see that's the thing. Like
Um,
we don't know if the show is going to be good. Sorry, Malia. We don't
you're
know if
good.
the show is going to be good or if it's going to be bad. So this is just us with our speculation. Like, oh man, and for good reason because again of the M. Night Shyamalan film, we've been burned before. So it's like we kind of have that trauma from that film. If we didn't have that film, we might not be as worried. Like, oh, okay, and again, even with Star Wars, you see what certain decisions that are made can do to a franchise. Star Wars is divided. It's
Ooh,
it's never been this divided. Like even when the
ooh,
prequels came out, people were like, "Oh, I don't like the prequels," but it still wasn't divided. They just didn't like what George was doing with other things, but they at least
right now.
respected his story, you know. But what happened to it recently is like, yo, you guys are just going against some principles that George set up in the films and even in like the Clone Wars series. So my fear is they're gonna do the same thing with this Avatar. You know, like okay, a good example how the waterbenders get their strength from the moon. They might try to make it something else now. Like, oh, they learn from like the currents or like the animals of the ocean, which would kind of make sense. But like, no, even physically speaking, scientifically, and even in certain spiritual senses, the moon gives energy and it helps with the magnetic push and pull of things. And it literally helps with the rising and lowering of tides in the ocean. So that makes perfect sense. Don't try to switch something like that up, or how like firebenders get their strength from the sun or from a comet, something like that. Like those things I think are intricate to the show being successful. And I'm also very afraid that they're just gonna just destroy the spirit world, just make it something
Ooh, I believe
what
that.
it's not. That's my big concern.
Okay, Malia, please go.
Yes, please go, Malia.
2 points. The first point is this isn't the first time that Netflix has like got rid of the creators of the show. Like with one day at a time.
Oh,
They completely got rid of that show and then it
that
got picked
still
up by another
hurts.
show, thank God.
I don't even know what that
Um
is.
One Day at a Time is one of the greatest sitcoms I've ever seen, and you should
yes,
watch it.
it's
Malia,
so
please continue.
beautiful.
Wait,
It's
so
so
is
good.
Um
it a Netflix exclusive, or did they just try to continue it?
The first 3 seasons are on Netflix, but
and then
the
they
fourth
got
one is
rid of
on like Pop TV, which I don't have and I don't have the money for. So
it. I can't watch it.
I watched episode 1 because it was free, and it's still just as funny, but still.
All right. The second point is, so this is actually going to go into Legend of Korra. But with Legend of Korra, they stated that people got their bending from the lion turtles, right?
Yes.
Right.
And I know a lot of fans had an issue with it because they were like,
Right.
but in Avatar: The Last Airbender, they said they got it from the moon, the dragon / sun, the Badger Moles, and where did Anomax get it from?
It was dragon.
There.
Sky
Sky
From the
Bison.
dragons, the moon,
Sky
sky
Bison.
bison,
Yeah, Sky Bison.
badger moles.
Right.
So my thing with that whole argument, and also I hope that Netflix doesn't like mess it up also again, but is the fact that they could have also, like with Juan, Juan?
Yeah,
That's
Juan.
it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Avatar 1.
How he got it is from the lion turtle, and you see him practicing it. Like the guy even commented, "Oh wow, he's bending like it's part of his body." It's like
Right.
they got it from him, but he had to master it, just like everybody else had to
Right.
master it.
So like
They
them
learned
getting the
from-
bending, but learning how to use the bending
Yeah,
from the moon, from the dragon.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
and see,
exactly.
that's what they explained though, so that made sense to me because
a lot of fans don't get that though. A lot of fans are like,
Yes.
"Oh, they messed up the whole lore of the story because
No.
it's set in Avatar
No.
Last Airbender." No,
If you get a
sorry.
sword, you got to learn how to use a sword. If
exactly.
you
So
get a
like
guitar,
for
you got to learn
example,
how to
Andrew can give me a firearm, but if I don't know how to aim it, how to clean it, how to load it, how to unload it, what good is it? You know.
play. Right.
Mhm.
So it's and that is a good point because yeah, that was one of the complaints I heard about Korra. I was like, dude, you guys just must have not paid attention.
Right. Y'all just didn't
Yeah.
watch the show. Like,
Yeah.
people
Literally.
who complain about Korra make me so mad because no, it is not Avatar. It is
It's
not The
not.
Last Airbender.
It's
so
not meant to
much
be.
more mature,
Like,
and it's a different
exactly.
ballgame.
It's a different show, so much so that Nickelodeon was like, y'all got to take this off TV and put it online. Like that's
Literally.
how different it was. It was not supposed. They keep comparing it to Aang's story. This is not Aang's story.
She's a whole different
This is not
avatar. It's a whole
Aang's
different set of
world.
problems.
Different avatar, different storyline.
Right.
Aang
Different
had
problems.
to,
Right.
yeah,
Aang,
Aang had to
Aang
learn
had
how to be.
his own issues. Like,
Yeah,
Right.
okay. So like with Aang, right? His whole thing was, I'm a regular human who had to
Right.
learn to be the avatar. Korra, on the other hand, knew she was the avatar and had to learn to be a regular person.
like she had to accept the fact that even though she was the Avatar, she still had normal people problems that she had to deal with. Aang kept saying, I'm just a person. I'm not equipped to save the world or whatever. It's just like complete opposites and completely different personalities.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
people were like, Korra's so abrasive. She's not like Aang. Okay.
Because she's not
She's
Aang.
not Aang.
She's not Aang.
My thing is, though, people love hyping up Kyoshi, but basically,
Exactly.
Korra is Kyoshi.
Exactly.
It's
So,
Kyoshi.
and see, that's the point. It's like, yo, if y'all actually at least read up a little bit on Kyoshi's backstory, you think Korra has something to deal with? Kyoshi had a rough
Kyoshi had
life.
it hard, okay?
Yes.
Kyoshi, the waterbender one, what was his name?
Kuruk.
Kuruk.
It's Kuruk.
Yeah,
Karuk.
he had it hard because he like died at a super young age because he was dumb and he lost his wife. Like
Now
every
that I would love to
Avatar,
see.
Depressed.
I would love to see that in
I
like
would love to
animation.
see
By the
that
way,
on
like
TV.
him fighting
Like-
Ko, that would
Like-
be great to see.
every Avatar has a different story, and people were so caught up on Aang's story that they were just like, "Oh, well, this isn't what we're used to." No, it's not, and yet, like, I like people hate on season 2 of Korra a lot. I personally don't hate it, like everyone
I don't
else
hate
does.
it either.
I think it's
I
good.
understand the behind the scenes issues of why season 2 was the way it was.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
there was a lot
For me-
going on with the different seasons. Because like, wasn't it just supposed to be one?
Yes.
Yes,
And
it
then
was
they
supposed to be
It
kept
one.
was supposed to be
going
one,
and
but then
going.
they were like, I'm gonna come back. They created the show. Nickelodeon was like, "What are you doing? Come back, make season 2." They
Right.
quickly rushed to make season 2, thinking that they weren't gonna have a season 3. And then the creators like, "What are you doing? Come back, make season 3." They had such
Yeah.
little time.
Right.
And the
Nickelodeon.
reason why they had such little time was because they were working on a 90-minute TV movie based off of The Search.
Right.
Yeah.
Finding Zuko's
Right.
mom, and Nickelodeon's like,
Exactly.
no, we'll just keep going with Korra, which is fine. But the thing is, you guys didn't plan to do this from the jump. So
Right.
again, we could have another. So, okay, a similar scenario to this is with the DCEU. How they wanted to rush and jump straight to Justice League with Zack Snyder. It's like, well, hold on, I want to establish Superman more, and let other people establish other characters. Nope, you're gonna do BVS. Fine, all right, I'll do BVS. All right, now do Justice League. But what? Okay. So now you have this problem with the show creators dealing with Korra, and I can guarantee you, if they had more time and actually had fleshed this stuff out, I think that they would have been able to do so much more with the show.
Yeah.
And
The-
like
the-
with it,
The one
Sorry.
that really just pissed me off was in season 4. You remember the clip show episode in which when Mako was discussing about everything that happened in the previous seasons?
That
about, like,
was such a filler episode, and it was so annoying. Anyway, continue.
No,
See-
there's a reason why that episode existed. Is because Nickelodeon didn't want to pay their animators any money, and they wanted to fire them. And then Mike and Brian was like, "Please do not let us lose our workers." And they're like, "Well, you have two choices: either let them go or create a filler episode." And they chose that. That's why it exists.
that's
See,
freaking terrible.
See, I know
Oh.
I'm gonna get a lot of hate if this gets popular for what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I know I'm gonna get hate. But in all honesty, in my opinion, again, my opinion,
Emphasize.
Legend of Korra is way better than Avatar.
I can see
And
that.
these-
Sure.
I can understand where you're coming from. Not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
I can understand it. But the thing is, for me, and I'll make this quick, Korra didn't have the time that Last Airbender did to flush things out. I believe
Yeah.
if it did, it would have definitely, hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, been the better show.
100%.
See,
100%.
my thinking with this is, as you guys all know, viewers, again, if this gets popular, you don't. I love anime. With Legend of
A lot.
Korra,
She loves anime
she-
a lot.
them having the 4 different villains did 4 different arcs. Beautiful. It helped her character development.
Yes.
Again, with the Avatar: The Last Airbender, there was character development, but Aman,
Yeah.
Zahir,
Zahir was
and
that dude.
He was that
There's
dude.
Zahir is
okay?
that.
Zahir was
Kuvira-
that dude.
Zahir is that blank.
He
Yes.
was that dude, okay?
Yeah, he was that dude.
Kuvira.
And Kuvira,
Kuvira?
like, bro, they
She's
all
tough, too.
accepted her will to be the Avatar. Like, Korra's whole mindset, like I said earlier, was, I'm the Avatar. I have to be the Avatar. They all test that.
Yeah.
Amon took away her banding.
Mhm.
Zahir took away her sanity, basically.
Yes.
Yes, with she was seeing Zahir in her brain for years after the whole event.
Yep.
Who was the season 2 villain?
That was
Unalaq.
Yeah, Korra's uncle.
Unalaq.
Yeah.
He took away the Avatar, basically.
Yes, and see, Andrew, hold that thought. I think if they had time to really flush this show out, like 4 seasons out, I think season 2 would have been the last season for that series. Because doesn't that make sense?
Season 2 was season 1 was supposed to be the only season.
Right.
So Zahir literally took away everything from her. Gave her PTSD. She could not bend anymore. She was too afraid to bend, to defend herself, to protect, everything. This boy said, cannot curse. Anyway. And then Kuvira, she wasn't a strong villain, but she really tested her also mentally.
Yeah.
I think Kuvira is a very interesting villain because you see, the Avatar was gone for 4 years, and it was at the point in which, is the Avatar even relevant in our day and age? Because we don't need a hero; we can defend ourselves. I'm here serving. I'm here serving. Food for the hungry. I'm here protecting the Earth Kingdom.
Right.
I'm here making sure that everybody is safe, both benders and non-benders.
Right.
Do we even need the Avatar anymore? I think I even said this when we did our Avatar podcast a few months ago, that with Aang was the peacekeeper. The world needed a hero.
Yes.
Korra was the hero, but everybody needed a peacekeeper.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Having the next Avatar be the complete opposite of Aang, I think that's what turned so many fans off from Korra.
if you think about it, all the avatars are the thing that the world does not need, and they need to learn to be the thing that the world needs. Like Guan, he was a villain who needed to be a hero. There's a post about this on Instagram that's I saved. I want to go to it, but I feel like something's gonna happen again, and I don't want to.
Don't worry about it. But I get what you're saying because
yeah.
Roku, for example. I mean,
yes, Roku.
During Roku's time, they needed a Kyoshi, but Roku was not that Kyoshi, and he realized that too late.
Too late, exactly. And the thing is, I mean, let's be real. And when we meet him from season 1 until season 3, I think he wouldn't have known how to overcome some of the villains that Korra did.
He would not have known.
He would not have. And I'm one of those that do like Last Airbender more, but that's because of the time that they had to flush things out. Like I said, if Korra had that same time, I would more than likely like Korra more. But the thing is, Korra had so much to deal with.
That's what I keep saying. Korra had so much. She had so many things stripped from her. Aang had one major event to deal with, being Sozin's Comet and the Fire Lord taking over the world. Korra had a life-altering event every single season that messed with her ideology, that messed with her as a person, and Aang would not have been able to handle that. And one thing that I noticed when I was watching Korra was that Korra had multiple run-ins with these bad guys.
Yeah,
right?
It wasn't just like a one-time showdown.
Right.
They fought multiple times,
Like, she had to go back and forth with them. I think because Aang was so young and he had no formal Avatar training, he, like, after that one fight with, like, Amon and losing his bending, he probably would have just, like, been done. His confidence would have been shattered forever. He just wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly read this post. Hopefully, I do not go away. All right, it says, since the very first episode, Korra's entire self-identity has revolved around her role as the Avatar. She grew up isolated from her own culture, kept in a White Lotus compound, being told by everyone that being the Avatar and keeping balance in the world was her sole reason for existing.
Mm-hmm.
Every major threat she has encountered so far has been a threat to that identity. Amon threatened to take away her bending and her ability to act as an Avatar. Unalaq's Bajavatu succeeded in destroying Korra's connection to her past lives, and Zahir nearly succeeded in destroying the Avatar cycle. All these conflicts, especially Zahir especially, have left Korra wondering whether the world really needs or wants an Avatar anymore. It's caused her to question her entire reason for existing. Mm-hmm. Now here she is, crippled, broken, traumatized, not knowing whether she'll be able to fight again, questioning her entire reason for existing. And here comes her respected mentor coming in and telling her, don't worry, my people will maintain peace and balance. We don't need you to do anything except feel better, which only succeeded in confirming her deepest fears.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah, and that shows the complexities of where the creators wanted to go with her character, where they just had so many loops. If they didn't have so many hoops to jump through, this would have hands down been the better series. And that's not a knock to Dave Filoni or any other people that worked on the first series, but this is what you call real character development, even character deconstruction in many instances. And for some reason, I guess that's what fans don't like. I mean,
it's not that they don't like it; it's just that they weren't expecting it.
Well, see, I mean, okay, I get what you're saying, but the hesitation that I do have is what we saw with Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. People were pissed that he did what he did in that film. And I'm like, well, it's character deconstruction. We're seeing Luke at his lowest point, you know.
Yeah, but they didn't expect Luke to be that way. They expected him to be the hero as he was shown in the trilogy.
And that's the problem that people had with it. I think with Korra, they expected her to be happy-go-lucky like Aang. It's like, no, she's a whole different person. She's a whole different person.
Yeah. Whole different person, whole different world. Like, Republic City could not have existed in Aang's time.
Absolutely
No.
not. I mean,
No.
we're
Technically,
talking.
it did, but you know.
I mean,
But
Oh.
I mean, Ba
still-
Sing Se was advanced, but wasn't as advanced as Republic City. I mean,
Exactly.
I understand
This
that-
is a whole different world that we're living in. Aang would not have been as effective in this world as Korra was, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
it's kind of
Korra
like
is
the
just, like,
equivalent
chop
of
action.
yeah, it's like the equivalent of somebody who is like really kind in a world that's filled with cynicism. It's like that kind of
Right.
stuff is considered to be archaic. You need to be able to live with the times and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
Like imagine someone like Aang being like president of America in 2020. Like that just can't work.
no, you
versus,
can't have
like-
you can't have another Jimmy Carter.
Right. You need someone like
Oh, dear Lord.
strong, abrasive, not afraid to like make the tough decisions. So Aang was fine when you guys when they were in like the Four Nations and like things were different and quieter and just not more peaceful because there's like a war going on. But just like different versus you're in this hustle and bustling city where if anyone has ever been to a city, like people will hit you with their car and not think twice. Like
Yeah.
that's the type of world
And here's another
that
and here's the
they were
thing.
in.
And here's a thing that I feel personally that fans of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden completely missed the point when it came to Boruto. And for
And
those
this
No,
is
they
when
really
I exit the
did.
conversation because I have no idea what y'all talking about.
okay,
They
okay,
really did.
okay. So this is something that maybe Malia would understand. So
Yeah.
so keep it short. Naruto is a series that came out in 2003. It's about a group of ninjas who live in this ninja village, and the whole point is that they're trying to do their missions. They're trying to protect their village from a whole bunch of trouble. Anyway, I'm going into like the last arc. The last arc, there was a huge war. There was a huge war that happened, and a lot of people died, and a lot of
favorite
people.
arc.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I find Shippuden to be at least somewhat tolerable. Anyway, but
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, at least when it comes
Patricia.
with the anime, the manga's fine. I'm talking about with the whole filler arc that Shippuden.
Oh yeah.
No,
Okay.
Shippuden sucks with the fillers, bro.
Yeah, I'm talking about the mangas. The manga's better. I'll just let you know that. Anyway, so
Okay.
there was a huge war that happened. A huge war that heavily affected the entirety of all of the villages across the world. A lot of people died. A lot of people,
Came back to life.
yeah, a lot of people came back to life and then they died again. And it's anyway. Long story short is that there was a huge war that happened that. Finally, it's been at peace. And so Boruto is the continuation of it where everybody's in peace. The whole world has drastically changed into the future. And, the younger generation don't understand why, they need to be ninjas anymore because they live in a world of peace and trade.
Right.
And so a lot of people were kind of upset with that. It's like, oh, they're not badass like in the original. Boruto is so annoying and all that kind of stuff. I know you don't know. Okay, let's just put it this example.
No, I get what you're saying though. I was just
Okay,
being dumb.
let's just put in this example. Okay, so the 100-year war with Aang and Katara and Sokka going up against the Fire Nation, and let's just say 70 years later we have Korra, and the entirety is completely different. Everybody acts differently. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, the world changes in 70 years. I mean, you go from ancient Asia all the way up into 1920s America. I mean,
Right. Pretty much.
Right, in the span of 70 years. That was crazy.
Yeah, imagine another 70, 80 years. What are we gonna have like cyberpunk and
Flying cars.
Right.
That's actually what I want in a sequel series though. Like if they go one after Korra, I want flying cars. I want them now.
And it's like, oh, we've discovered a digital frontier where you can bring your bending into the digital world and you
that kind of
fight with
that sounds a lot like Yu-Gi-Oh! Brains.
You know what that sounds like to me, Ian? That sounds like Tron.
Yep, that's why I said it. See, that's like thinking a Tron hybrid with Avatar. Who knows what they would do?
Another podcast topic. Tron. Need that. Anyway, continue.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put that on the list.
Yeah, it's very a vastly underrated franchise.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, I've seen the original Tron. I
same here.
haven't seen Tron Legacy. Loved Tron Uprising.
Oh, Uprising was great.
Uprising is incredible, but not to like derail the conversation any further, but give Legacy a try. Like People have mixed opinions on it. I love it. The atmosphere is amazing.
Yeah.
The music.
Daft Punk killed it.
Oh my goodness, Daft Punk really dropped that on us and vanished. But yeah, give Tron Legacy a try. It's my favorite movie of all time.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
Well, again,
Tron.
future podcast.
Yes.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
the one thing that I hope that they don't do for this Netflix series, and they sadly have done this for a lot of American adaptations of anime, is that they would cast American actors to play as these characters.
Please don't do that.
I hope they don't. I mean,
Hey, Netflix,
Death Note.
Netflix. If you're watching Netflix, Katara, Sokka, anybody of like that was. They were POC. I can't remember.
Anyone
exactly
who was
what-
darker skinned.
Anybody who's darker skinned better play it, and he better not be no white little boy because he's not white. That man is Asian. Same with
Also-
Zuko, Iroh, Zula, Ozai. Everybody in that show was Asian, not white. Asian.
Okay,
Get
also
your
Netflix,
culture right.
if you're watching this, I know you're not, but if you are, please don't make the good guys white and the bad guys brown. Don't do that.
Please, no, because that
Don't
really
do that.
gives us
No,
black people,
that would piss
African-Americans,
me off. That would piss me off.
That blew
POC,
me.
that
y'all.
gives us all bad raps.
that
We already
blew
have
me.
bad raps because of media.
Yeah,
Let's not.
that would piss me off if they did
Like
that.
it would have been different because I think I forgot the name of the actor who played Zuko. I think
Dave Patel. Yeah, Dave Patel.
I think that he did a serviceable job with what he was given. He was definitely like a brighter spot in the show. That being said, it would have been better again if there was more diversity in the acting because they really just sat there and was like, good versus evil is white versus brown.
Pretty much.
That's
Yeah.
literally what they did. 'Cause
Literally.
The three main characters are white. They are Caucasian. Both water tribes were white. If you even have glanced at the show, you know that the southern and northern water tribe they're brown skinned people.
They're Inuit.
Right,
Exactly.
Inuit.
Right.
Right. And the Fire Nation, they were like lighter skinned Asians.
They're Japanese.
Yeah,
Right.
they're Japanese and the Earth Kingdom's Chinese.
Yeah, and the
Earth
air
Kingdom was Chinese?
nomads, the air nomads are kind of like Hindu, I think.
Hindu / Buddhist monks. Yeah.
Yeah,
But you guys like
/
he almost M. Night Shyamalan, he just straight up was like, all right, good versus evil, black versus white, let's go. And just kind of expected us to roll with it.
Use that notion in media, and when I tell you, when we get out there, when we graduate from said school,
Upset school.
Oh
Oh man, I don't know why that was so funny to me.
Look, guys,
I-
Oh, sorry, Malia, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to wrap things up. Here's the thing.
Okay.
We before we started recording this, we were talking about the 2019 Lion King movie. And,
oh yeah, we were.
Yeah, and the sad thing is that, it's one of the highest grossing movies of all time. And one of the reasons why, I know it's sickening, I know.
Sickening.
I hope I hope we were showing faces in this podcast because my face said it all.
Anyway, but I wanted to bring up a point. It's that unfortunately in our American society, they do not take animation very seriously. There's a lot of people out there that will watch something that's live action based off of a cartoon because they will not tolerate animation. Like Eian, Malia, you already know this, but back in last January, we were working on this project for ABC, and one of the guys who was the producers, we were talking about the Lion King movie, and he was saying that I prefer the live action version over the animated version because with the live action version, I can actually take it seriously. And I'm afraid that, know, the whole thing coming out on Netflix and a lot of people having Netflix accounts, it's like, I can actually take the show seriously because it's live action and not animated, which is actually really sad.
See, no, I understand the mindset. I'm not saying your mindset is wrong. I'm not saying your opinion is wrong.
Sure.
But no, not you, Patricia. But
No,
like
I'm just agreeing with your statement.
But people who think that anything that's animated is kid related, you have to open up your mind a little bit more. You can't be as
Right.
closed-minded because
right.
a lot of the animated shows are really good. It's for adults. Like, it doesn't have to be like that adult humor. It can just be like, it's chill. Like,
Well,
for example, Kipo, Shira,
Oh, yeah, She-Ra.
Steven
Voltron.
Universe,
well, see,
Voltron.
Wait.
okay, you're right, Malia. The problem is with those shows, the reason why there are continuations or remakes is because of the fans from said era that liked those shows. So again, I can use this franchise because it's one of the most popular franchises, Star Wars. When the Clone Wars movie and show came out, a lot of other fans were like, "What is George Lucas doing? No, don't give us something animated. If you're gonna give us something on Star Wars, let it be live action." Turns out he did the right thing, because he was able to tell certain stories that he wouldn't be able to tell on television unless it was animated. So for the sake of storytelling, some things you might have to do animated. And I think at the end of the day, Malia, you're right. You're not wrong. But with Patricia's example, older generations, they see animation as strictly kids program. Like Mickey Mouse, Looney Tunes, stuff like that. They say, "Oh, that's strictly for kids." Anything animated, they think is for kids. And Patricia, I'm glad you brought that up, because at the end of the day, people miss out on great storytelling if it's animated, and when it becomes live action, you're gonna miss certain elements from said animated show once it translates into live action.
This is something that I learned in high school, like my freshman year of high school. I had one of the greatest English teachers of all time, Mr. Plank. And he was showing us this old cartoon in class, like this 40s cartoon, right? And originally, not many people know, but cartoons were not meant for kids.
Right.
They were
It was
just,
not.
it was just,
They weren't.
for, just people, for adults or whatever.
Right.
And because kids became so, like, they were drawn in by the art style, by the colors, to them, it kind of resembled like a drawing or something.
Yeah.
So that's when they started making cartoons for kids, and cartoons and kids became like associated, right? And then you have like like Cartoon Network, you have channels dedicated to cartoons, and they're for kids. So that, like, cartoons have the stigma of like being associated with children, which is not necessarily bad, right? That, like,
it's not bad. No.
At this point, cartoons are like, children are the main market for cartoons. However, you can make a cartoon that can appeal to everybody. Like Malia said, Voltron is a great show for kids and adults. I've watched the whole thing like 4 times. I regret nothing. I blew through She-Ra in like 2 weeks over the summer.
By the way, we should do a podcast about She-Ra.
I'm adding that to the list.
I blew through She-Ra.
I have to watch that because
it's so good.
I watched some of the 80s show, which I did like, but I have to watch the new one. So
please.
The remake is so much better.
So much better.
So much better.
All right. I will take y'all's word for it, because Patricia knows I'm an 80s fan. I mean, I'm a 90s baby, but I love the 80s material.
Okay. But did you like 80s Voltron over new Voltron?
Slightly, yes. Maybe because it's nostalgia, but I will say the newer one is more complex in certain areas. I will say that.
So it's the same with She-Ra.
The plot line for remake, so much better than original. And you should know exactly why I'm saying
I know why you're saying
Malia.
Yes, we know.
We know exactly what she's saying.
We know. But I mean, and see, that's not a problem for me. I have no problem watching it. It's just I'm just cautious about any kind of 80s remake, period.
It's a great remake.
No,
it's a great reboot, remake, whatever. It's so good.
Trust me, Noelle Stevenson did her thing. Like, bro, she even voiced one of her characters.
That's dope.
See,
that's dope.
And that's the thing. Like, you have these shows that when you look at, like, I looked at She-Ra when it first came out, and I'm thinking it's a kid show, flashy, princesses, hearts. Oh my goodness. But these shows have these complex characters and stories that they transcend just being for kids. Like, they are for everybody. Like, you won't You won't find necessarily an adult-centered cartoon, but you also won't have an adult-centered show anymore per se. Like you can't name a show that like the creators like this was meant for adults, like unless it's just like obscenely disgusting.
That's the
right?
thing. You see, in our society, in our American society, in order for you to be qualified as an adult cartoon, you either have to be really disgusting or filled with swear words.
Exactly.
Not in Europe, not in Asia. I mean, sure, Asia, okay, fair enough. I mean, they do have their fan service, yeah. But
depending on where you are in Asia, yeah.
Sure. But for the most part, they treat their audiences very seriously. I mean, if you see like, you know, Irish movies, I mean, if you've seen The Secret of Kells, or French movies, if you've seen The Triplets of Belleville, or New Zealand, if you've seen Mary and Max, or you know, again in France, Persepolis, which takes place during the Iranian War in the 70s. Like, those are serious movies. The Breadwinner is a very harsh movie taking place around Afghanistan. Like those, and you know, going into Japan again, like the Studio Ghibli films.
Oh, yes. And those films are very diverse.
Exactly.
Very diverse.
You know, they treat their audiences very seriously. They don't just say, oh, this is for kids, this is for adults. It's like, no, this is for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
And in America, it's like, to be an adult TV show, like you said, you just have to be so disgusting. Like Family Guy is just one of those shows, like, you can't watch that as a kid because they have so many jokes and
South
references
Park.
and stuff.
South Park is on a whole different level.
South
Park, I can't explain South Park to you. That is.
I do
So
not
I pointed
like
down
South
because
Park.
Malia is like below me on my screen. I don't know where she is for y'all, but yeah, like adult cartoons and adult shows in America are just defined by, we tell jokes that 12-year-olds aren't supposed to say. And I think like we really got to move past that, because you have all of these shows, live action, cartoon, whatever, that are so good, have great stories, have great morals, and just like a great story to tell in general,
right?
That people just turn away because like, oh, that looks like it's for kids. Oh, that's this. Oh, that's that.
Now, on the flip side to that, though, with this new Avatar series, or with this Avatar live action series, one thing I do think Netflix will still do, I think we were going to see a different element brought to this world than what we saw animated, which is the emphasis on live action scenes. You know, like, we will see Wing Chun, we will see Shaolin, we will see all these different types of martial arts and different types of action scenes pop out. And I think they are going to try to make it a little mature, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, I can see that. I mean, they did that for the Castlevania series, in which it's very mature.
Yeah.
Oof, I cannot get past that first episode.
I don't blame you.
Wait, is it like super violent or just what?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh,
I mean, it is vampires, you know. So
I also couldn't get past the first episode of Harley Quinn either.
Okay.
That show is crazy.
Wait,
I need you guys to watch it so we can have a podcast.
Harley Quinn is such a good show, Patricia.
That show, like the first 5 minutes, I'm like, what the heck is this?
I have to watch it because, bro,
I'm adding it to the list.
That show.
Please, Harley Quinn is one of the best things DC has ever put out.
Bro, when I
like,
tell you,
it's so funny.
I tell you, I binge watched that show.
Yo, she's standing up and going in circles about the show. I have to watch it now if Philly is doing that.
You haven't
I
seen
have
it
no
yet?
choice. I watched parts of actually, Shock and I watched parts of the first episode. Because I saw
need you guys to watch
catch
it.
up.
Because I saw a clip on Twitter where she takes the mallet and just cracks the guy in his what's the bone?
In his head?
No. It's like in his leg, but like in his
like
shin. And like, yeah, she takes the mallet and just cracks this guy in his shin.
Which scene you're
I was like, yo, what? I'm like, what? I'm like, what is this? I'm like, yo, what?
All violence of Harley
guys to
Quinn
understand.
aside, it's just such a, like, it is funny. It is like, they break the fourth wall in amazing ways so many times. They, like, every character is just like reimagined to be not as serious, because the whole world is just not as serious as DC.
How they did my boy Gordon.
Gordon, poor Gordy.
All right. No spoilers. No.
Okay,
No.
let's just wrap things up.
Y'all
So
gotta watch it.
That
Okay.
is going to be on one of the podcasts, though, right, Patricia? Y'all have to watch so you can do it.
I got it on the list.
Cool. Okay, I can sit back down now.
Okay. Let's just wrap things up. So, okay, we don't know what the Netflix series is going to be about. We are, I mean, like we said before, this was literally announced yesterday. So, I mean, most likely they're not going to do any filming because of COVID-19. And so we probably maybe hear something about it either late this year or early next year.
Right.
So all we're going to say is that, yes, we are very heavily disappointed. And yes, we wish that the creators would come back because, you know, they're the ones who've held responsible for it. But we're not going to say anything bad about, you know, oh, this is going to be like a dumpster fire immediately. We're going to wait until we see the trailer. We're going to wait until we see some more news announcements about this, and then maybe we'll give our full opinion about it. So I'm just gonna leave it as that.
I agree with Patricia wholeheartedly. I just hope that they don't take away from the principle, like we said earlier, and they don't try to take away from character development, because that was very crucial for the older characters like Uncle Iroh, for who was in, like seeing rope having rope.
Zuko.
Yeah, Zuko.
Yes.
Especially Zuko, especially Sokka. People sleep on his character development.
Yes,
Man, Sokka.
They do.
Like
they do.
Sokka's character development, beautiful.
Yes.
And it's just like, I hope that they don't take away from that or change, like really, like Andrew said earlier, I hope they don't change a small detail, because even the smallest detail can change the whole character from being what they were at the by the end of the show.
I think that so of course, being the Avatar fan that I am, I genuinely hope that it is good, creator or not. But I'm worried about what direction they're going to take the characters in, what creative difference involved that caused the original showrunners to leave. And like overall, I'm just worried because, like Ian said at the very beginning, we have been burned before. We are still recovering from the trauma of 2010. So I want it to be good, and I don't think that Netflix would make anything bad on its own.
Death Note.
As a standalone, I have no doubt that this show will be good. But as Avatar, there is room for Netflix to butcher the whole thing. Yeah. So, I like Patricia said, I hope the show goes well. I legitimately hope that we have something that we can talk about for years and years and years to come. But I think that the live action show's legacy will forever be marred by the creators leaving. By Netflix deciding by the creators deciding Netflix isn't honoring what we had in mind and left. But I still hope it'll be something that I will binge in 3 nights and regret nothing.
Same.
That would be lovely.
Yes.
I agree with all of you. I really do hope this show is a hit. You know, I would love for it to be a hit, and I think even the creators would love that as well. Like, okay, it might not be what we had envisioned, but you still did a good job with this show. These are our, this is our property. These are our characters, and even with a different spin, you guys did a good job. I hope that is the outcome. What do I think is going to happen? I'm going to hold off on that. I will say I think the show's going to take a more mature turn. Not anything drastic, but I think it'll be a little darker. And to be honest, even as a kid, while I love Avatar, I kind of wish there were moments when the show got a little darker than it did. As we're all, hopeful creatives, I just think about how artists have been burned before. And I hope Netflix, even though they have a difference in creative opinions, I hope they can at least respect the property enough to try to put out a great quality of a production. So that's my hope for this show.
For sure. Update. So we literally just finished recording this episode, and literally, like the moment that I was just finishing editing this, a news article popped up saying, hey, there was actually a reason why Michael DiMartino and Bryan Konietzko left. So, well, damn. Okay. So,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, and, like I said, this news just literally just happened as of the recording of this podcast, yesterday, because we're idiots and we didn't, double check our research like we should have.
So I like how she's coming for our lives.
I know, right? We were just living our lives. It's like, we were just like, we were just gonna do this and everything will be a-okay, no biggie. So no, of course not. Literally, Michael DiMartino and Bryan Konietzko were talking on a website called Fandom Wire as to why they decided to leave. So let's talk about the three major issues. Number one, budget. The creators wanted a bigger budget. This one is the least surprising since it's a common request for any showrunner. Filmmakers always want to make more money properly building their vision, but Netflix felt it was already spending as much as they believed they needed to pull off the series. So, yeah.
I understand a little bit where Netflix is coming from, okay, but at the same time, you cannot tell the creator of the show, this is your budget, because because Netflix themselves don't really know what it takes. For the show, all the special effects that goes into the show and everything, especially for live action. We're for Aang and his airbending, we don't see the air. The only people don't see the airbending. Only reason why we see it is because it was drawn.
I mean, I hear you, Malia, but my thing is, okay, this is what we have to realize. This will be the creator's first live action project that they're doing, or I guess that they were doing, sadly. And while they're still trying to learn, okay, for example, Dave Filoni, George Lucas had Dave learn how to do actual film shots for Clone Wars. He actually had to teach him certain filming techniques. And I think Netflix and certain producers or certain people probably had to work with the creators to teach them certain things. Every creative is going to ask for a bigger budget. I mean, that's just what you're going to do. But with a show of the magnitude, like putting Last Airbender in live action, as a studio, especially with Netflix, and they've been kind of pushing the envelope with budget with shows like The Witcher and Umbrella Academies, things like that. That's going to be very hard to do with whatever kind of budget, regardless. That's just my 2 cents on that. So I hear you, but it's not as easy for the creators to just kind of say, hey, this is what we need, because they have the lack of experience against them.
Yeah, of course. And and when it comes to the effects, you have to understand that it's not just the effects of the bending. There's also travel costs. If they want to go over to these locations, like the locations of the Air Nomads and the locations of the Fire Nation, and building sets for Ba Sing Se and all these places, it's gonna get expensive.
Right.
And then there's also costumes. There's also there's also the cost of all the effects with the bending, of course. And
yes.
Everything was probably going to be piling up to the point in which Netflix was saying, okay, this is pushing it way too far. You have to understand that we're Netflix. We're not a big budget Hollywood production. It's getting too far. But even then, you have to admit that, all that kind of stuff would have been, for the most part, worth it. Because, let's be honest, even with everything being animation, Avatar is, a gorgeous show that relies on its world building. And its world building is going to fall apart if it looks like crap.
Right. Right.
Okay, let's get over to the next thing. And this is something that we've actually was worried about when we first recorded this. So,
the principles of the show?
Diversity.
Principles of the show.
Yeah.
I'm upset. They said, I'm sorry if I offend anybody, especially if this gets popular once again. But I'm upset to try to get white people on this show. I'm sorry, but there's no white people in Avatar.
No.
None.
I feared that this was going to happen. I even mentioned it in my original recording that they're probably going to Americanize it. And guess what? They're most likely going to Americanize it.
Which,
Bro.
I mean, but the thing is, Netflix had a show called Marco Polo, which was a majority Asian cast. And yeah, there were a few white people because of the Italian explorer Marco Polo, and like his father and uncle and all that kind of stuff. But they showed that it could work with a majority Asian cast. So just take this next step with an all Asian cast, all Asian / indigenous cast. Make it authentic. Yes, it's a make believe world. It's not real, but make it feel real. Make it feel authentic. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, what was that one movie that Matt Damon was in? The Great Wall. I didn't even go see that because I'm like, so here we go. And no offense to anybody, but we have a white guy here that's going to tell China how to defeat these quote unquote monsters, and that building a Great Wall is not going to be enough. Like, I'm tired of this.
That's really dumb. I mean, it sounds like The Last Samurai if you try to put some fantasy elements.
Yeah. I promise you, if they try to put some white savior bullcrap in this show, I'm gonna be pissed. There is no white savior. It's literally a bunch of kids and I don't know if you want to. I don't know if this is the next issue or not.
Oh yes, it is. This is the final issue. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not going to talk about it just yet. We're just going to just deal in diversity. That way we can just get. But no, diverse. It's an Asian. Crap. Can I get my words together? I'm so upset about this.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like we just mentioned that, people from the Northern and Southern Water Tribe are Inuit. People from the Fire Nation are Japanese. People from the Earth Kingdom are Chinese. And people from the Air Nomads are, well, they're Hindu mixed with Muslim and all that stuff. So, so for the most part, it is a heavily influenced Asian or Native American cast. So you're trying to say, oh, that's not going to fly. We need to whitewash our cast members so that it can be able to be easier to do. The Last Airbender did this with Sokka and Katara, and the fan base was not happy. They did this for Ghost in the Shell, where they casted Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. Yep.
Fans were pissed.
Yeah, and see, the thing is with Hollywood, okay, this is kind of hypocritical to me. Not what we're saying, but what Hollywood does, and now including Netflix, because we have all these specials on Bruce Lee and how, like, oh, he was great for cinema. He was a great action star. Yet during his time, he had a concept for a show called Kung Fu, and the studio picked it up and they gave it to some white guy.
I'm sorry,
and like, they gave it to David Carradine or Carradine, I think that's his name.
Yeah, David Carradine, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, so this man, I'm supposed to believe that this man came from Asia and he's now in the West, or like the Old West, and he's beating up all the people. So it's hypocritical. That was a problem back in the 60s, late 60s to early 70s. Now we still have that same problem. Yeah. I mean, even recently, and you know what? I'm kind of not surprised because even though this wasn't on Netflix, I don't know if any of you watched the Daredevil show that was on Netflix, or I guess it still is. But one of the Asian actors came out and said that they had a whole arc that was cut because one of the producers said nobody cares about seeing a couple of Chinese people, and I'm paraphrasing like the quote, but they don't care about seeing a couple of Chinese people's side story. And I'm like, we still have this problem now, but yet you want to preach diversity and inclusion, but yet you can't give people an accurate casted or an accurately casted show. That doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. It's not that hard. It's going to sell. You have a fan base ready for your product. You don't have to make the pitch. We were all sold. And yet you do this.
And even, when IndieWire interviewed Mike and Brian back in 2018 about this live action series, they made a promise that they would not whitewash the cast. They want to cast diverse actors and actresses for this series. But now that they're gone, because of this reason, it just goes to show you about that, even as a progressive place like Netflix can be kind of scummy when it comes to their casting.
Yeah.
I'm just really tired of seeing white protagonists. It's getting old. It's been old, but really, it's like, come on, this is a really Asian show. It's like taking a K-drama, a Korean drama, if you guys don't know what that is,
Yeah.
and and making it white into a soap opera.
That won't work.
That is literally what they're doing.
Okay, let's round this up because the last one infuriates me. The tone. Okay, so the biggest reason why they left the project was because they wanted to age up Aang, Katara, Sokka, and Zuko so they can add in more violence, more sex, and more blood.
I'm sorry, but Avatar: The Last Airbender literally shows Aang's character development from a 12-year-old boy to how old is he at the end of the series?
Well,
13 probably.
Yeah, 13 about, yeah.
Yeah, should be about 13.
And like he matures so much, but the whole joke, not really joke, but the whole plot of the show is saying he is 12. He's a kid. The reason why they got Toph as LOL. Earthbender is because they literally said, "Oh, I can't go find an Earth Master. Let me go to a wrestling match to go find somebody." That is such a 12-year-old thing to say. That's such 12, 14, 15-year-old to say.
Right. And I made a comment last night when we recorded the previous episode. I don't mind them going a little bit darker, but this is too much for me. Like, I don't want Avatar meets a Game of Thrones type of vibe. We don't need that.
That is exactly what they wanted. They wanted Avatar meets Game of Thrones. But here's the thing, right. And I'm just going to flat out and say this.
Go ahead.
The whole thing about extra violence and blood and sex to generate towards a massive audience, I think has already been done to death at this point. I mean, right. Everybody was so disappointed about season 8, and The Walking Dead has already dragged itself to the ground in which nobody can take it seriously anymore. And then there's The Last of Us Part 2, which has gotten mixed to negative reviews because because apparently from what I've heard, and I haven't played the game, but
same here.
I've heard that, people, said that, it was like way too overbearing with the darkness and some other, gameplay and story stuff, but that's neither here or there. The point is that I think that, with everything that we're going through right now in this pandemic, I think that having such a dark, brooding thing just for the sake of a dark, brooding thing is not needed in our society at this moment.
Yeah. I just want to say, and you're right, Patricia, because Avatar doesn't need to be dark. Like, there were moments when I thought certain things should have been slightly darker, but it doesn't need to be dark. Even a game like The Last of Us is a zombie apocalypse, to my understanding. That's going to get pretty dark. Sure. That makes sense to me. I mean, whether people perceive it or not, I guess Game of Thrones was a dark show, with a lot going on. I guess that could be a whole different episode in itself. Season 8, as we look back on the series. But with Avatar, you don't need to be overly dark. I mean, for example, let's say that this show still had the creators attached in. We look in the future, 8 years down the road, and however many seasons that this show has, it was a huge success. It was loved from first episode to last. If they want to go and do a Korra series, we know that's going to get darker in itself because of what she has to deal with.
Exactly. So you want to go from dark. You want to go from dark to black. You want to go from brooding to go into the shadows just so you can get some sunlight.
Right. So it's, to me, it's no, let these kids overcome these obstacles. I think, again, yes, okay, I know you guys are like, Ian, stop bringing up George Lucas, but that's what George was attracted to Dave, because Dave and said people that worked on Avatar knew how to tell these stories about kids who could overcome great odds, and that's why he picked them for the Clone Wars, and that's what made the show so big. Okay, these kids are fighting grown adults. They're outsmarting grown adults. They're besting grown adults, and it's believable. Mm-hmm. With Netflix, if you're gonna make them what Aang was 12 and Katara and well, she was what 13, 14, and like Sakura was like 15, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like okay, if you like up their age by like 1 or 2 years, maybe that's fine, but don't make it to where like I don't. Okay, first of all, I don't know what they plan to do with Aang. Aang is a nomad or an air nomad, aka like a Buddhist monk. I don't think he's worried about adult things
Yeah,
at the moment.
he
Like
is not worried
he's
about
not,
violence. He is not worried about bloodshed, and he is definitely not worried
not
about
worried, right? Exactly. Like he's
My thing
taught
is,
to let go of those things.
exactly.
Aang was so afraid to like. Aang did not want to kill Ozai at all. He didn't want
Exactly.
blood. He didn't want violence. He didn't want any of that. So why are you adding that to a show? I
You
can
know what?
understand if they added to Korra itself, because that's what the Korra literally would have been like if she had to go against Ozai. Cannot curse. He would have been dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, she would have done what Zahir did to the Earth Queen.
Yep.
Facts. Facts.
Yeah.
But Aang,
And
on the other
yeah.
hand, is like a field of flowers.
Right. And even with that, even okay, if you want to go dark, you could do a series on Avatar Kyoshi. That would be really dark.
Or
Go ahead.
Hannah's backstory.
Yeah. Or there's a lot you could do, or like even talk about things that the creators thought of, but really haven't shared with anybody. Like, okay, this will be something brand new. That's not going to be about Kyoshi. Da da da. This is going to be, or heck, have like a time period before Sokka and Katara find Aang, where like the Fire Nation is just wrecking havoc over the rest of like the world. That would be interesting to me. That's where you could go dark. Like this particular series in the Avatar world doesn't need to be dark. Like for example, it wouldn't make sense to make a lighthearted Gotham show, but
Unless it's Brave and the Bold. That's a different story.
well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, to me, with HBO Max doing this new series based on Matt Reeves' The Batman about Gotham and how it's going to be dark, like, okay, yes, that makes perfect sense because Gotham is a dark place. It's a terrible place to live. I would never want to live there. But with a show like this, one of the big themes is even though you're fighting up against so many odds, so many dark forces, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There are reasons to live. There are reasons to keep going. There are things to hope for. And now I'm afraid that this show is going to take that away because of, okay, we want more violence, we want more darker things, we want sex. I'm like, it doesn't have to be Game of Thrones. You have The Witcher for that. The Witcher is your answer to Game of Thrones. You don't need to do that with Avatar.
No, you don't. And I think they think that we won't be taking this seriously. I think that's probably why they're doing this. Is like, we need to gravitate to the people who grew up with it, and we're just gonna age it up for them. This is the same thing that happened with Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy, when it came out in the 90s, it was a show that was generally marketed for kids, but it went way past the point at which it was for adults. Then, about 10 years later, they decided to do an adult version. And it was like one of the worst things that you could ever see, in which like they went too far. Only lasted for about 6 episodes. They didn't even air the last 3 in America.
Wow.
Yeah, see, I watched the kid version of it when I was a kid. And then I think late at night, I was like, oh, Ren and Stimpy's on, let me go watch it. And it was the adult version. And when I tell you, I was shook.
I am so sorry.
Yeah, I didn't even watch it. I didn't even watch it. And see, but Netflix should learn from this because 2 studios tried this with 2 series that whose cast is majority Asian. I shouldn't say cast, but characters. One being Dragon Ball, with 20th Century Fox doing Dragon Ball Evolution. That was a dumpster fire. I didn't see that. Like, they made Goku white. There's only 2 Asian people.
And they aged him. Like, in the original Dragon Ball, Goku was a little boy. He was like 6 or 7 years old.
Right.
And they decided that, we're going to make him into a high schooler. And we're going to make him, like, concerned about, I want to ask Chi-Chi to the dance, where that wasn't even the case at all. Like,
Goku's not caring about that stuff. He's like, what's the dance? I'm just trying to fight,
Yeah, that's all he cared about. The only thing he cared about was fighting strong people and joining tournaments and food. That's it.
Yeah, and then obviously with Last Airbender now, I give Last Airbender some leeway because there was some diversity in the cast, but not as much as we would have liked. But I don't know. It's just they need to learn their lesson. I mean, heck, people are okay. It's not as if they're trying something brand new, like a brand new franchise, and they're doing this.
Yeah.
It's a well-beloved franchise. Avatar is one of the most beloved show or animated shows in history.
Mhm.
That's just fact. You keep it as authentic as possible, you can only do well. I'm sorry, like, I can't see this show not doing well if they just keep things authentic.
Yeah.
I can't see it not doing well. I would be shocked. I'd be greatly shocked if it didn't do well with everything going well in a perfect world.
Yeah. So
One of
go ahead.
one of my biggest fears, now that they're talking about aging up the characters, is getting like a 20-year-old something to play these kids when they really shouldn't, because then it really takes away from the whole aspect of them being children, of them being early teen or pre-early teens.
Yeah, and I don't know, guys. I mean, just for me, I'm really disappointed because, again, like I said yesterday, Netflix has been pretty lenient and, open with creative freedom for
Yeah.
like directors, writers, and all that stuff. But now, I don't know if the pressures of Hollywood are getting to Netflix. I don't know, but at the end of the day, you're setting yourself up for failure, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, once again, just like how we ended it, we're going to just wait until it comes out, or maybe even if we see a trailer, we're going to wait and see what happens. And then when the whole thing comes out, then we'll give our final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, and something that just came to my mind as well, even it is kind of hard to sell a show, especially live action. If it's a cartoon, it's easier to sell. But it's hard to sell a show of a kid, overcoming great odds, like defeating a Fire Lord. But again, you have a proven property with the animated series. So why change that? Like, I would be more lenient if it was something brand new, like it was never been done before. But
Sure, like if they focus on a different avatar.
right, but I don't know.
I don't know either. All right. Well, I guess that's the end of the Banter broadcast. So if anybody wants to plug and promote their stuff, then go for it.
Follow me on Instagram, Jabak, JBIAC, and then Jabak Productions. Again, JBIAC Productions. All one word, no underscores.
Jibak.
Jabak.
Follow me on Instagram _AndrewJM_. There's really nothing else I got. My Cash App is AndrewJM34.
Oh,
It's
wait,
my
if we throwing
senior
out,
year. I need help.
wait, no, hold on. If we throwing out cash apps, true, Jabak again, JBIAC. It's my senior year also.
We trying to get out of here.
Debbie Ryan face.
Not the gift.
All right.
Oh, wow.
And also follow him on Twitter on Just In Case.
Oh yeah. Man, what? It's like underscore just in case _1.
Yeah,
It's
something
some
like
nonsense. I had to make a new one. Y'all don't want to follow my Twitter anyway. It's a mess.
that. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, where does this dude come from with all this stuff? Oh man.
Twitter.
All right. What do you got, Ian?
Follow me on Twitter at EK _. Sorry, that's my Instagram.
Yeah, I was
All right,
about to say
fine.
that's not it.
Yeah, I'll do Instagram and Twitter. Follow me at EK _freedom fighter, and Twitter at unashamed rebel. Follow me there. I'm more so on Twitter than I am on anything else. But thank you guys.
Twitter gang.
Actually, thank you, Patricia, for putting this together.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Kudos to
yes.
you.
Let's do this again. Let's run this back.
Yeah,
Multiple
we
times so
promise you that we are not going to take 500 years to do the next episode.
Yeah. I miss doing this over the quarantine.
Like, it's basically just our random conversations that we have, except this time we're filming it.
Yes.
Literally, this.
We have conversations like this a lot, guys.
All the time.
Oh yeah, and no 100 years in icebergs or anything like that. So
No.
we're fine.
Yeah,
We're here now.
Yeah, so if you want to follow me, facebook.com/oldsschoollane, youtube.com/oldsschoollane. I'm at Twitter, Patty_B_Miranda. You can listen to my podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public.
Well, wait.
Yes, she came with the heat. With the heat.
Platform.
Patricia said, I got everything.
She got the thing.
She
She
said,
was like, here.
She said, man, you guys hurry up with your little measly plugs.
Instagram and stuff.
Let a professional come through. Let me step out real quick.
But
Go ahead,
said,
Patricia.
I'm even going to name my MySpace page.
I haven't had a MySpace page since 2005.
Wow, mercy.
It's been years.
We have so many more topics because before we started recording, we talked about like 15 different things before we pressed record. So
no, remember it was recorded. Patricia's just like, I'm going to just keep it rolling.
Oh, yeah, she left it rolling. We got topics for days, y'all. So
yeah, so I hope this makes up for the fact that we haven't done anything in months.
Yes, it does.
But yeah, we'll be back much sooner. We'll be discussing about what we're going to be discussing about. I guess we'll fully discuss about Korra.
Yeah,
yes, please, because
Korra.
your girl has a lot of facts, knowledge, literally.
We bet you do have knowledge.
We know why you have the knowledge.
Yeah, we know why you have knowledge.
We know why.
I stand Korrasami.
We got Korra. Yes. We had She-Ra that we were talking about. We got maybe like, I feel like we should throw video games in there, but I feel like that's just me and Ian. Harley Quinn, duh.
I also Steven Universe.
Kipo?
I need to watch Steven Universe.
I haven't watched Steven Universe.
Yeah, Kipo's good.
What?
Yeah, Kipo.
What is?
I need to watch Kipo too. I'm behind on
Okay, Kipo is an amazing show that I need you guys to all watch, except for Patricia, because I think you already watched it.
I don't know what the heck that is. What is this?
It's on Netflix. If you do like She-Ra and Steven Universe, I strongly suggest Kipo, because that is basically that show. Ooh, the Owl House too. We need to talk about that.
Yeah,
we got shows on deck.
Yeah, I don't know. Can we look? I don't know half these shows that you guys are talking about. Can we talk about something like let's see, no. Okay, I got it. How about we talk about Umbrella Academy?
Ooh,
I have to catch up on Umbrella Academy.
Yes, or we could talk about what's another good show? Ooh, you know what? I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
We're talking to group chat.
Actually, hold on. I know a good show we can talk about. Shameless plug right here.
Oh, My Hero Academia.
Yes, we can talk about that.
I need to watch season 4.
Yes, you do. Hurry up and watch season 4.
Okay, hold on. See, look. I don't like watching anime until it's finished. Because I don't like waiting.
See,
no, anime takes a long time.
This should be a topic. All right, Patricia, this should be a topic because we grew up where we were fine with waiting. Actually, we wanted to wait for the next episode. Like, for example, with Dragon Ball Z, what will happen next time on Dragon Ball Z?
It's been ruined by binge culture, man.
Yes, that should be the topic. Binge culture versus.
I grew up on that too.
We all grew up on it, but then once Netflix happened,
I don't like waiting. I hated it back then. I hate it now.
Also,
I'd rather just finish it and binge watch the freak out of
it. You gotta cut that part out.
I feel like this whole section of us talking about what we should do next, Patricia, you should make this a separate video and call it "What's Next" on the podcast, and just like us talking about nonsense.
Yes.
All right, I think we're done here. So, okay.
Yeah, it's been almost 2 hours.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.